Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, back with you to go over the astrology of 2021. We already did the numerology and the Kabbalah. So we actually start, well, let's talk about some general considerations for February. Just, looking over it. It says Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Aquarius for most of the month. Mercury's retrograde motion began on January 30th and will end on February 21st. Mercury doesn't come out of its shadow, however, until March 13th. So we are either in a Mercury retrograde or a Mercury shadow period through most of February. This requires us to be introspective. This requires us to look at, to get answers from within. On the new moon in Aquarius on the 11th, 6 of the 7 classical planets are in the sign of Aquarius. That's the classical planets are the planets from Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the moon, Venus, Mercury, and then the sun. The only Mars is in another sign, Taurus, with an orb, within orb of a square to 5 of the 6 planets. I think Saturn is the only one it's not in orb of. So that's a lot of energy that Mars in Taurus is pushing. But Taurus is a bull, and Taurus is stubborn, and Taurus is very strong. What's interesting is that we're in the year of the metal ox, and there's been a lot of symbology, or we're not quite in the year of metal ox. That's going to happen on the Lunar New Year, right? But there's all this energy of oxen and cows and bulls and that sort of deep, sort of slow, steady as you go, but with great power, and like the power that can sort of explode out. So we have to take that into consideration. Of course, Taurus is in Uranus is in Taurus. Uranus is that energy of breaking free, right? In Taurus. Okay. On February 17th, the first of 3 last quarter squares between Saturn and Uranus will occur. This synodic cycle began back in 1988 when there were 3 conjunctions at 28, 29, and 30 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's something coming to a crisis point that was seeded back in 1988. We'll talk about that when we get to the day. So let's look at the first week of February. We start right off the bat with Mars square the sun at 14 degrees of Taurus and Aquarius. Mars in Taurus, of course, the sun in Aquarius. This is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. This stimulates our rebellious nature. This cycle began back in 2019 at 10 degrees of Virgo. The Sabian symbol for 10 degrees of Virgo. So this is 3/4 of the way around this synodic cycle. This synodic cycle is actually a 2-year synodic cycle. Any cycle with Mars is a 2-year cycle. The Sabian symbol for 10 degrees of Virgo is 2 heads looking out beyond the shadows. The keynote is the growth of true understanding born out of the transcendence of duality, even while immersed in the world of duality. We are in a 2-month. We are also at a time when the north node of the moon is in Gemini. The north node of the moon is our direction forward. It's also a challenge for us because it's the unknown, or it's something that we need to deal with as we move into the future. And Gemini is the sign of duality. So we are going to have to come to terms with the fact that there is equal and opposite push-pull, and that we have to appreciate that actually before we can come into a place of unity. So be aware of that as well. The key word here is self-transcending, self-transcending activity of the mind. So it's an ability to work within the dual existence, which is created by the mind, right? And yet not get caught up in the duality of the situation. Taking sides is actually not helpful at this time. It is not. And here we have the Sun square square Mars. This is for Washington, D.C. I just happened to put it for Washington, D.C. We have the Sun here in Aquarius, and we have Mars here in Taurus. Mars is now 6 degrees away from Uranus, still with an orb of a conjunction. So Mars continues to be an evident sort of foot soldier for Uranus in Taurus, the energy of change, the energy of change. So we also, one of the things that we have seen recently was what happened with GameStop, and how the power of the people got together to stop these billionaires from doing what they do with these companies that are suffering. And so enough people got together to stop the more powerful sort of hedge fund guys who seem to, take advantage of those who are at a disadvantage in order to make more and more money. So it's very interesting. That's very much, I think, a Mars Sun square, especially with the Sun in Aquarius, that group energy. On February 1st, Venus also ingresses into Aquarius. We have these planets now moving into Aquarius. We have, at this point, we have the Sun in Aquarius. We have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. We have, I believe, Mercury's in Aquarius at this time as well. And now Venus moves into Aquarius. I'm not sure about Mercury, but I think so. With Uranus in Taurus and Venus in Aquarius, we actually have a mutual reception. So for those of you who don't know what mutual reception is when the planets have exchanged their rulers. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Here, Uranus is in Taurus and Venus is in Aquarius. It's as if the planet and the sign are on a dance floor, and we have Venus dancing with Taurus. We have Aquarius dancing with Uranus, right? That's the rulers. Those are the rulers. They're dancing with their rulers. And then at some point they switch partners, and we have Venus dancing with Aquarius, and we have Venus dancing with Aquarius, and we have Uranus dancing with Taurus. So what that does, it actually creates an easier flow between the two planets. And it's considered by some astrologers to act like a conjunction of those two planets. And what is Venus and Uranus? Change in our relationships, change in our essential needs, change in what is important to us, right? It may be easier to change our relationships and our values at this time. This will be in play until February 25th, because at that point, Venus will ingress into Pisces. So from the 1st to the 25th, we have Venus in Aquarius and Taurus, Uranus and Taurus in mutual reception with each other. So this is very exciting. We can also see this as the awakening of the feminine. the awakening of the feminine. And that can be seen in the outer world as women taking more and more positions of power. But it can also be seen within us as we value the feminine within all of us. And that feminine is our feelings and our bodies, right? Those are the feminine elements. And so it's really about loving and appreciating our sensitive side and our physicality. Okay, let's see. February 4th, we have a square between the sun and the moon. This is our last quarter crisis in consciousness square. This is the 3/4 point of the synodic cycle or the lunation cycle that began with the new moon in Capricorn on January 13th, 2021, when the new moon was conjunct Pluto. I don't know if you remember that, but it was pretty powerful because in the United States, this occurred at midnight. And so Pluto and the sun and the moon were all conjunct right at the bottom, right at the nadir of the chart. And that is a seismic shift in power. That is a seismic shift in power. And we are now 3/4 of the way through this synodic cycle. At a point in the synodic cycle, where we are questioning authority, where we are individuating. We are looking at the structures that are around us and saying, do these support our experience or do they not? Now, some will, but some won't. So not everything comes tumbling down, but the things that remain are the things that have value. The things that fall away are the things that at this point do not have value for the individual and perhaps for the collective as well. It was also the lunation that had a powerful, this was also part of the lunation that had the powerful full moon in Leo, with the sun conjoined Jupiter, squared by Uranus and Mars in Taurus. We just had this. This was a huge energy shift. And I believe this is when we had the GameStop thing and the hedge fund guys. So this is the people expressing the power of the purse, so to speak. So, there are a lot of, there's a point where they're trying to control the internet in such a way that people can't perpetrate lies, but we have to be very careful about the freedom of speech, because they could easily just stop everybody from saying anything. And that's something that we have to guard against, because the internet really is an extension, just like the printing press was an extension of people. It opens people up to possibilities. And so the internet has been somewhat of a Wild West story, but it is being limited, and that's the natural process of, let me see what, there's a cycle. I'm trying to remember which planet's involved in it. I think it's Uranus and Neptune. The Uranus-Neptune cycle, the new cycle began in 1993. I believe it was last year. It came to the point in its cycle where it is starting to be limited and restricted in order to create structures that will help sustain it. So that's just something else. There's a lot in this brain. And here we have the sun and the moon. And last quarter, we have the sun here at 17 of Aquarius and the moon at 17 of Scorpio. The moon is actually opposite Mars here and Uranus. This is a very tumultuous and fiery and transformational time when we're dealing with the fixed signs like we are. The fixed signs have to do with our emotions, So a lot of what's being broken up now are very old emotional patterns. Notice that in your life. Notice where your old emotional patterns are being asked to be broken up and to free you from those things that hold you back, those emotions that hold you back. Is it a feeling that you're going to be all on your own? Is it a feeling that you're abandoning somebody? Is that a really hard thing to do because you yourself have felt abandoned and you know what that feels like? Is it anger? Is it hatred? Is it these very, very stuck feelings? And so we are breaking this. It's a process of disruption and breaking free. And so we're going to feel that, whether we are actually out there doing something to physically break something down, or if we're just feeling it within ourselves. Okay, February 6th, we have Venus conjunct Saturn at 6 degrees of Aquarius. The beginning of the year, whenever the smaller planets, whenever the personal planets come in contact with either the social planets, like this, in this case with Saturn, Venus being personal, Saturn being more social, or the transpersonal planets, it's the start of a sort of a new cycle. Venus conjunct Saturn is the start of a year-long synodic cycle of making beauty and our essential needs and relationships, while under the purview of Venus, tangible. Tangible. Saturn is about manifestation. But there are rules to manifestation. You can't it won't simply just appear. There are things that you have to do. There are structures that have to be applied, actions that need to be applied in order to build that which you desire, that which you want to see in your life, that which is important to you. Those relationships, they take work. Your creativity, you want to create something of worth, it takes work. It's all work, right? That's Saturn. The symbol for 6 degrees of Aquarius, where this conjunction happens, is a masked figure performs ritualistic acts in a mystery play. The keynote here is the individual involvement in long-established patterns of activity aiming at the release of collective power, transpersonal responsibility. We are the ones we've been waiting for. What we do matters. What we do counts. What do you want to do? What world do you want to see? Focusing on what, master manipulators, people who are in power or seem to be in power, is not where the focus needs to be. The focus needs to be on you, because you have as much power, maybe more. And when we put that, and when we focus on that from our hearts, from our vision, in the process of co-creation, we can create beautiful things. We can create deep, abiding change, which is kind of what this is about, Venus and Saturn. And here we have it right here, Venus, Saturn. Here at 6 degrees in the second house of the US, this very well could be a COVID relief package that could come out, just, from a more mundane perspective. Aid and help right here. And this conjunction is square Uranus, So, and we will have Venus square Uranus, and we will have Saturn square Uranus in February. Okay. Speaking of, week 1 ends with Venus making a last quarter square to Uranus. Just as I said, this occurs at 7 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. Venus and Uranus are a mutual reception, remember? So this is even more powerful. This is even more powerful. Change comes easier. Is there something you need to change? Something about your values? It's easier to change it now. Take the steps. This is the 3/4 point of the synodic cycle that began back on March 8th. Remember March 8th, 2020? Before everybody went into lockdown? Was it March we went into lockdown? It occurred at 5 degrees of Taurus. The Sabian symbol for 5 degrees of Taurus is a widow at an open grave. The impermanence of all material and social bonds. Pretty powerful for Venus square Uranus, that this is the symbol that this synodic cycle began on. What relationships no longer serve, even with those who you love, even with those that you love. Or if it's not the relationship, the nature of the relationship. You can still have a relationship with somebody, but not relate in the same way. And so you can say, you know what, honey, I am no longer going to be afraid of what you think of me. And I'm just going to do my thing. And this is how it's going to be for me. And you can cooperate or not, that's up to you. But this is my decision. This is what I'm going to do in this situation. And so you can still have relationships with people, but the way that you relate to them will be different. And that will be up to you. That will be up to you. And here we have the Venus Uranus synodic cycle. Over here we have the original, let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's the original conjunction. It occurred in the 10th house. This is for Washington, D.C. On the same day, we had a conjunction between Neptune and the Sun on the same day. So it's pretty intense. That was in 2020. And here we have the square. Here's Venus here, and here's Uranus here. And there's the square right there. Venus, this is for the US as well. We have Venus in the 9th house of beliefs, right? We have Uranus in the house of health and service. Okay, so now we're on to week 2. So week 2 begins February 8th, Monday. We have the Sun conjunct Mercury at 20 degrees of Aquarius. We have to remember that Mercury is retrograde at this time. This is the highlight of the Mercury retrograde cycle. This is when we look within. This is when all the introspection, we have an opportunity to see a kernel or something that we're here to see what is important to see. If we look at the Sabian symbol for 20 degrees of Aquarius, where this conjunction is occurring, is a large white dove bearing a message. So there is a message for all of us on this day, the 8th. I believe this is when in the United States they're starting the impeachment trial. That's interesting. That'll be interesting to see. The keynote here is the answer of spiritual agencies through sustained and victorious individual efforts. The answer of spiritual agencies to thorough, sustained, and victorious individual efforts. This is saying that spiritual energies, spiritual agencies, spiritual connections are working for us if we work in a sustained, victorious individual effort. So focus on what it is that you want to see. Perhaps instead of saying, in the case of perhaps in the case of the impeachment, say, I want to see justice served. I want to see justice served. as opposed to, I want to see Trump suffer, or I want to see this, or I want to see that. Go to the highest possible vibration of the situation and focus on that. Focus on justice, focus on fairness, focus on the fact that, you know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It says at the very heart of this piece is the certification of individual worth and victory. So this really kind of depends on your belief in your individual effort. It's funny, this has been rolling around in my head for a little while. And then Cash Peters talked about it, that what you put your energy to, you feed. And so who do you want to put your energy to? Do you want to put your energy to somebody like the ex-45th POTUS? Or do you want to put your energy to your own creations? Or do you want to put your energy behind something that you feel is going to help, more positive, more constructive, more truthful? It's up to you. You can put your energy wherever. That's the choice, right? The two. Where is it you want to put your energy? On February 10th, Wednesday, we have Mercury square Mars. So this is 2 days into the I don't know how long the impeachment is going to last, but this is last quarter crisis in belief. So people will be having a crisis, spiritual crisis here. We can expect arguments around abuse of power. That seems to go well with what's planned to go, on. Of course, we have to remember Mercury's retrograde. So the best laid plans, we'll see what happens. And then February 11th is a new moon. This is a Thursday. This is a new moon at 24 degrees of Aquarius. And on the same day, we have Venus conjunct Jupiter at 13 degrees of Aquarius. So we have two Aquarian sort of points of where energy is focused. So the new moon in Aquarius is the year of the metal ox. If you happen to be born in 1961, so I think it's February of 61 to January of 62, you are a metal ox. I am a metal ox. And so this is our year, guys. This is our year. Diligent, dependable, strength, and determined. Yes, that is us, isn't it? Okay, so the new moon at 24 degrees of Aquarius, the Sabian symbol for 24 degrees of Aquarius. And we remember that the new moon is the start of something, the beginning of that lunation or the synodic cycle between the sun and the moon. And so this sort of plants the seeds for that. It says, a man having overcome his passions teaches deep wisdom in terms of his experience. So this is a personal journey. This is about how we have overcome those things that have driven us to a point where perhaps we get to be the driver here. The constructive use to which difficult past experiences can put as examples for those who are still striving to overcome their passions. So this is about sharing your story. Sharing your story. What have you done to overcome obstacles? You know, I talk to people every week, and I am just amazed at the things that people overcome. And on the other side of it, become more loving. I mean, it's easy enough to be resentful and angry and hateful when bad things happen. But when bad things happen, or the rug gets pulled down from under you, or you're really challenged, that's when you see your mettle. And that's when you can really connect with the goodness within you. And that story is a story worth telling. So if you have a story, tell your story. Tell your story. Communicability, communicate. Very interesting that it is. And of course, metal ox is very much that energy of communication. And here we have the new moon in Aquarius. We can see this is for the United States. Again, it's Washington, D.C., erected for Washington. We can see that we have, actually, you know what? This is not the new moon in Aquarius. This is the full moon. I don't know why it's here, but I apologize. I don't have the new moon in Aquarius. You know what I'll do? Guess I made a mistake. I will pull that up for you and maybe do something separate on it. Yeah, I'll do something separate on it for you guys. I apologize for having the wrong video up. Chart. Venus conjunct Jupiter at 13 degrees of Aquarius. This is the other thing that's happening on this day, a day of new beginnings, so to speak. This is the start of the annual synodic cycle of expansion of beauty, idealism, harmony, and justice. Doesn't that sound fabulous? And the Sabian symbol for 13 of Aquarius is a barometer. It says the ability to discover basic natural facts that allow us to plan in advance for action. Keyword here is anticipation. Anticipation. Basic natural facts, quite frankly, is very much Venus. Very much Venus. And here we have the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And we can actually see that this conjunction actually happens before the new moon, but we can see that the moon is getting closer to the sun here, and will eventually conjoin it. We can also see right here, Pallas Athena is in the middle of the mix. Isn't she always? Pallas Athena was the asteroid that was pretty much hand in hand with Saturn last year. She was in Capricorn when Saturn was in Capricorn, and she was in Aquarius when Saturn moved into Aquarius for a time, for a moment. And so she continues to sort of walk hand in hand with Saturn. Pallas Athena is the goddess of social justice. So she is close by at the time of this new moon. It's planting seeds of social justice. Very, very exciting. Very exciting time. Okay. Okay, at the end of the second week, Mars is sextile Neptune. This occurs on February 13th, which is a Saturday this year. This is an opening the lines of communication. Sextiles are always mentally stimulating. You can either have a Gemini side sextile or you can have an Aquarius side sextile. This is Gemini. So this is opening the lines of communication on what action to take, Mars, on the seed planted on 6/13/2020. That's when these two planets conjoined at 21 degrees of Pisces. That's a degree of my moon. So the Sabian symbol for 21 degrees of Pisces is under the watchful and kind eye of a Chinese servant. A girl fondles a little white lamb. Growth in consciousness in its earliest tactile awareness of the wonders of unsophisticated living. This is really coming down to a real simplicity and a sense of purity of heart and the need to protect that purity of heart. Okay, so now we're in week three, February 14th to February 20th. I do my weeks from Sunday to Saturday. That's official, right? Sunday is the beginning of the week. We have Mercury conjunct Jupiter. Now, Mercury and Jupiter are the two planets associated with the mind. Mercury is our reasoning, left brain, Jupiter is our creative right brain, our intuitive brain. They are on the same page at 14 degrees of Aquarius. Sabian symbol, a train entering a tunnel. The ability to shortcut the process of natural evolution by the exercise of will, mental skill, and physical self-discipline. The key word here is penetration. Penetration. Mercury conjunct Jupiter, the power of the mind. The power of the mind aligned both sides, right and left, on the same page. Very powerful, very, very powerful. Week 3, February 17th, Wednesday, we have Saturn square Uranus at 8 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. This is a very important point that we come to. This aspect is actually the aspect of the year. It does happen 3 times. It happens in February, it happens in June, and it happens in December of 2021. Saturn is structure. Uranus is function is to blow apart structures, is to awaken us, is to break us out of our shell. And yet Saturn symbolizes the shell. So this can be very disruptive. This energy is very disruptive, and it's disruptive in service for progressivism. It's disruptive in service for the good of humanity, because the next step is this is moving from Capricorn and then further into Aquarius. So this is about taking responsibility for yourself, not putting somebody else responsible for your life and your choices. And that's on because we're dealing with Saturn, a social planet, and Uranus, a transpersonal planet. We're talking about a huge cultural and evolutionary shift here that is going to be felt through the very sort of roots of our civilization. Saturn structures our lives. We will feel shook and shaken and shooken. I don't think shooken's a word, but I like it, through this period. So while it's no longer 2020, and a certain person is no longer in charge, unless of course we give them the energy and we give them all our energy. It doesn't have to be in charge to have power. We just have to focus on that. And that's not what we're going to do. It's time for us collectively to put on our big girl and big boy pants. Individuate. Have what you know count. This is the first of 3 exact last quarter squares between the planet of structure and the planet that strives to break down structures. This synodic cycle began in 1988 when these 2 planets conjoined in the last 3 degrees of Sagittarius. And these were the days, February 12th, 1988 at 30 degrees of Sagittarius, June 26th, 1988 at 29 degrees of Sagittarius, and October 18th, 1988 at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So the interesting thing about that is that the synodic cycle began with the ideal or the premise of breaking down old beliefs, Sagittarius, and recreating new beliefs. This synodic cycle of Saturn and Uranus actually came to its fruition point between 2008 and 2009, when it opposed each other 5 times. That was when Barack Obama was running for presidency against John McCain. Barack was the more Uranian energy, something new, something different, something we haven't done before. And McCain was the tried and true, the old soldier, right? The people that the military, the people that we had previously depended upon to decide what was best for us. And now suddenly we were choosing something different. And so we can see that within that, there was a new choice, a different choice for us. And then that choice got it, once you have the opposition, then Saturn has to move into the second half of that cycle, of which we are a quarter through. So we still have another quarter of this cycle. And I believe that Saturn and Uranus are come into conjunction. I can't remember. Saturn and Uranus, I think it's in Pisces. No, it's not in Pisces. Might be in Aries. No. Uranus. Taurus. I can't say. I'll have to look that up. Sorry. I can't keep it all in my head. And here we have the first quarter square between Saturn and Uranus. We have Saturn, let's see, where's Saturn? Saturn over here, Uranus at 8, Saturn at 8. The 11th house is the house. This is again for Washington, D.C., so we can apply it that way. The 11th house is the Congress, the Senate, and then the 8th house, the 7th house is open enemies, it's relationships, both houses that are active are air houses. There's a lot of air going on. There's a lot of ideas going on. Pluto and Saturn Saturn and Jupiter began a new synodic 20-year cycle in Aquarius. And the next, I think, 150 years, all those conjunctions are going to be in air. So we're moving into a new dimension. We're moving into an air time, a mind time. And a mind can be a beautiful thing, or a mind can be a terrible thing. Like what's his name used to say, the mind is a terrible thing. Which is true. Eddie Murphy used to say that. So the Sabian symbols for 8 degrees of Aquarius, Taurus, Saturn at 8 degrees of Aquarius, beautifully gowned wax figures on display. The inspiration one may derive from appearance of exemplars who present to us archetypes of a new culture. We are dealing with here the fixed symbols upon which culture is based. With mental archetypes, they are kept and made available as patterns to imitate, or at least from which to draw new motives for inspiration. We are at the stage of vision, new forms revealed to the consciousness, as well as new ways of meeting other people in social relationships. The key word is preformation. Uranus, so that's where Saturn is at. Uranus at 8 degrees of Taurus, a sleigh on land uncovered by snow. The value of anticipating and preparing for expectable conditions. Here we have a combination of two factors: the sleigh, which is a product of the traditional skill, and the ability man has to foresee and thus to prepare for a future situation. This ability relates to the symbol the symbol to the one for Taurus, 7 degrees, because the woman from Samaria had the capacity to receive a revelation of the future state of human evolution, though in a different and subconscious sense. Man should be ready to use past knowledge and skill to meet the demands of the stage yet to come. Future-oriented imagination. These are powerful. I'm not going to get deeper into those, but these are definitely symbols worth taking a look at and pondering the meaning of. Week 3, February 18th, a Thursday, the sun ingresses into Pisces. So now things are starting to move out of Aquarius, starting with the sun. The sun's ingress into Pisces is a natural time of release. Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, it is time to kind of resolve the things that need to be resolved, act out the things that need to be acted out before we start a new cycle when the sun moves into Aries. So this really is about kind of wrapping things up. And Pisces always deals with a sense of unconditional love, compassion, oneness, unity. And this is an opportunity to do some work on forgiveness, perhaps, some work on unconditional love, loving yourself. It's, again, an introspective time, a time to go within, and a time for exploration into the subtler realms. Subtler realms. Don't waste this time being addicted or trying to escape or doing, or, obsessing over games or some sort of thing. Use this time to go within, and remember, we're still in the Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I don't know if I put Mercury direct in here. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. February 19th, Friday, we have a first quarter moon, crisis in action. Seeds planted on that Aquarius new moon, February 11th, when everything was in Aquarius but Mars. Well, everything, all of the sacred planets from what is that? Saturn in, right? And we also have a Venus square Mars at 23 degrees of Aquarius Taurus. This is a last quarter crisis in belief square. Venus and Mars has a 2-year cycle. This was seeded back through a conjunction of Venus and Mars that occurred on August 24th, 2019 at 5 degrees of Virgo. Let me see if I can find, oops, sorry about that. Let me look at 5 degrees of Virgo, what it says. Hold on one second. Excuse me one moment. Hi, I'm back. Okay, 5 degrees of Virgo, a man becoming aware of nature spirits and normally unseen spiritual agencies. The opening of new levels of consciousness, and this was the conjunction of Venus and Mars, the two planets associated with relationship. And so we are opening to different levels of consciousness via our relationships to each other, and that's something that we need to be aware of. And the key word here is imagination. So it's really important as to what you're imagining. If you're imagining the worst, well, then the worst can come to you much easier than if you aren't imagining the worst. Again, it really matters what you focus on. Okay, February, week 4, February 21st to 28th. On February 24th, which is a Wednesday, we have Mars trine Pluto at 26 degrees of Capricorn, Pluto, and 26 degrees of Taurus Mars. This is a trine of creative self-expression. There's a special relationship between Mars and Pluto in that Pluto is our unconscious desires, and Mars is how those unconscious desires are made conscious through what we do, our activities and our desires, the things that we focus on and follow and go get. That's really what Mars is. Mars is the go-getter. And sometimes Mars, forces itself to get what it wants. The trine is always a free flow of energy. And so there's very little or nothing between the energy of Pluto, the soul, and Mars, our actions. This actually was seeded, this particular expression of our unconscious desires into our conscious actions was seated back on March 23rd of 2020, when these two planets conjoined at 25 degrees of Capricorn. Says 25 degrees of Capricorn are stores filled with precious Oriental rugs. The use of cultural and artistic processes as a means to enhance personal comfort and appreciation, a reliance on tradition, a reliance on tradition. And so there is a spiritual truth that needs to be exercised and manifest. And yet it doesn't have to be, giving everything up, the old sort of ascetic ways of spirit. But it's about being the best you can be, which sounds kind of like maybe super American or super Western or super advanced, advanced cultures. But it's okay to be comfortable and to have your needs met and still be spiritual. Come on. Saving symbol for 26 of Taurus. A Spanish gallant serenades his beloved. The ritualization of individual desires, role playing, that is the Mars energy, and the Capricorn, the Pluto energy, is nature spirits dancing in the iridescent mist of a waterfall. The ability to perceive the hidden and creative spirit of natural phenomena, occult energy, the magic that is all around us, the magic that is all around us, and a flow of that magic through creative self-expression to express the desires of the soul, to express the desires of the soul. February 25th, Thursday, Venus ingresses into Pisces. It finally moves out of mutual reception with Uranus, but moves into the sign of its exaltation. Venus is exalted in Pisces, love brought to the highest vibrational level. And so this is another opportunity. Now we have the sun in Pisces and we have Venus moving into Pisces, and we can start to go down that Pisces primrose path, a time of release and letting go and preparing for the coming of the spring, as it were. We also have on that day, Sun sextile Uranus. The sun at 8 degrees of Pisces, Uranus at 8 degrees of Taurus. This is a progressive change sextile. I said previously that sextiles will either have the energy of Gemini, which is a sextile that opens up the lines of communication, stimulates our curiosity, requires us to gather information. And then there's this sextile. This sextile is about distributing what we know, sharing what we know. This is our knowledge. The Aquarius, the symbol for Aquarius is a water bearer, okay? It's a person holding up a jug and the water pouring down and over everyone equally. There's equality, things reach its own level. And that's something that we're going to have to come to terms with. We're going to have to be better people. Because we can't depend on the people who are in charge to do it for us anymore. We have to be the change. We have to be the change. This was actually seated back on April 26th of 2020 at 7 degrees of Taurus. And the Sabian symbol is the woman of Samaria at the ancestral well. That symbol keeps coming up. 7 Taurus has been very active in many cycles. And the woman of Samaria met Christ at the well. She was an unmarried woman. She was kind of an oddball even in her own tribe. And yet Jesus was revealed his true identity to her. So there's an energy of the truth comes from the unexpected places, and the people who perhaps are not quite completely entrenched in the society itself, but come from perhaps the mouth of babes, the mouths of madmen, um, the berserkers of the old day who would be out in nature and then come back with revelations, and the people would feed him and take care of him, and then he would go back out into the wild. But he was supported in his ability to see outside of the box, as it were, outside of the box. And there's a lot of outside of the box stuff happening because of Aquarius. Okay, on the 27th of February, we have a full moon in the sign of Virgo, the sun at 9 degrees of Pisces, the moon at 9 degrees of Virgo. We'll look at the chart. Let's look at the Sabian symbols first. Is the 9 of Pisces, a jockey spurs his horse, intent on outdistancing his rivals, the intense mobilization of energy and skill in the drive for success and social performance affected by the competitive spirit. This is a self-quickening. It reminds us, it reminds me of when I used to play pool. I was in a pool league. I wasn't really good, but the pool league was more of a social thing anyway. But I found when I played with better players, I played better. It was as if it would rub off on me, so there is a place for that. There's a place for wanting to do something and be the best at it. In that competitive spirit, it makes us sort of rise up to a higher level. But of course, it's not just about winning, but it's more about improving in that case. And then 9 degrees of Virgo, an expressionist painter at work, the urge to express one's individualized sense of value regardless of tradition, originality. So this is a full moon that brings the ideas of self-quickening or working and mastering what it is that you see as something that you could be the best at, along with the willingness to color outside the lines, or not even in the case of Impressionism, not even have lines, All right, and here's the full moon, and we have the moon here in Virgo, opposite the sun in Pisces. And this is actually, is it square the nodes? It's widely square the nodes, so it is activating the nodes. The Pisces Virgo axis is the axis of health and well-being. And so we will see perhaps the start of that getting a little bit better here in America anyway, because vaccines are getting out, things are getting organized to help support what needs to be done at this time. So that's a good thing. So we might see some better stuff coming with that. Okay. All right. So I think that is the last thing. Looks like it's the last thing. Let's see. Is this the last thing? Yeah, the 27th. Nothing specific happening on the 28th. So that is the end of the thing. So let me stop sharing that. Okay, I'm back. So I hope you enjoyed that. February is a time of introspection in that Mercury is retrograde for most of it. It is a time where we have access to change, access to realizations, access to our own strengths. It's important what you focus on. It's important that you figure out what it is that you yourself are going to do to make things better in your life and the lives of others. And it is a time of great change. And we have to move with the change. Saturn and Uranus in a square to each other, on and off all year, is going to break up some things that perhaps we didn't think were breakable. But it's all in service to a broader perspective. It's all in service to a higher level of consciousness, so that we can claim our, not only our power as co-creators with the universe, but the responsibility that that entails. Because we can focus on what we want, and the universe will conspire to get us there. The question is that for the highest and best? All right, guys. Well, that was fun. Like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos and you would like me to continue making them. You might consider a donation. It is not it's not absolutely necessary, but if you feel the need, if you feel the itch or the want to do that, I happily accept donations for this work. So much love, everyone. I will get out the week ahead. I'll have to do that next. A lot of stuff today, a lot of stuff. So if I don't get the week ahead out today, I will get it out tomorrow. But a lot of what I said in the first week is what I'm going to say for the week ahead. So have yourself a great month. Much love. Thank you for all my subscribers, new and old. Thank you for all the support I get, both financially and in gifts, and just moral support and the lovely words that you share with me. Sometimes I get challenged, but it's okay. Challenge is what makes us stronger. So, all right, guys, much love. Take care of yourselves and namaste.